Yes, welcome back to yet another tutorial, and then today what we are going to look at is how are we able to create the views, how are we going to create the controllers, and then lastly how we are going to create the route. So today we are going to see how practically we can create these. So in our previous tutorial we have looked at how the MVC architecture was designed, but as of now, let's see now how do we create these actual things in the application. How do we create a view, how do we create a controller, and then how do we create a route. So without wasting time, yes, in our previous tutorial I created this application called Apex Demo. I'm going to simply open this. How do we open? This is the simple step. Double click on it, just come up here around in space, then just type in cmd and then enter. Yeah, you just type in cmd and then click on button, enter. When you enter, just type in code space dot and then still click button, enter, so that we can open our application in the VS Code, so that we can open our application in the VS Code. Yeah, okay, so we are going to start. Okay, so let's start, and MySQL, just okay. So now to begin with, I will simply first of all take you through, but I remember like taking you through all these, what goes where and something like that. Yeah, what goes where and then something like that. Okay, now this is our application, and then what you should always do before you can do anything, before you can create anything, make sure your XAMPP is up and running. How do you tell? These two has to be in this color yellow, and if they are stopped, please restart them. Assuming let's say they are like that, please start this Apache and then start the XAMPP, which is the MySQL. Yeah, so you start the XAMPP, so even if you close it, it will be running in the background. Then after that, make sure that your database, you have this Apex Demo as a database, and then leave these as default. Don't touch them the way you're seeing. Leave them. Yes. Now we want to start. Remember, I've just said we are going to create our first view, and the view we are talking about the bread, which is where we are going to write HTML and CSS. Then we shall create a controller, and lastly we shall create a route. So without wasting time, let me start by showing you how we create a view. And for you to be able to create a view, you need to know in which folder do we find the views. In my previous tutorial, I talked about the resources folder. When you open the resources folder, there is a folder called the views. So inside the views, by default, you can see that as the Laravel application is being created, it creates a demo bread file. For example, the welcome.bread.php, as you can see, and then you have the sample of the HTML. So it's within here that we are going to create our other or more files that we can also use. Now, if you can note very well, now this welcome.bread.php is in lowercase, so always make sure that as you're creating the views, they should be in lowercase. Do not use caps lock. Always make sure that everything you create in the views file, not that in the views file, should be in lowercase. That's number one. Number two, we are going to create our first file. And how do we create it? You simply just put your cursor on the folder called the views, then right click on it, go to this option of a file. Don't go to the folder, just go to the file and click on it. When you click on it, just write in index.bread, yeah, .php. Now you're going to realize that all our files that we're going to create are going to have a .bread.php extension. Why? Remember Laravel being a PHP framework, so it supports PHP files. So all the files that we shall have in Laravel, most of them should have .bread.php, and that's why we said that views at some point are regarded as the bread files. Yes, because Laravel uses what we call a bread templating engine. That's why you're seeing something like this. Number two, all our files, whenever you're creating your first file in Laravel, will have an index.bread.php. So index is the first file to be created in Laravel. What does it mean? Index simply means the home page. The first page to be viewed by the user should be an index page. That's why we are calling it index.bread.php. That's number one. Then you click on enter. Now, as you enter, you're going to write your normal HTML and CSS. Remember, you have been studying HTML and CSS. How do you do that? Just write Shift and 1 and then enter. You will see, you'll be able to create the structure of HTML. And then let's just write in a sample, whatever. We can say maybe H2 and we say, this is our home page. Just I'm writing this because right now I'm not teaching how to code in HTML and CSS. I just want to show you how we create these different files, you know. So this is what we call HTML and CSS. Okay, this is just mere HTML. I'm writing a dummy word. This is our home page. So this is how you create a view. So we can create as many as we want. The step is simple. Just go back to the views, right click, new file. You can now create the about.bread.php. You can create contact.bread.php. You can create facts.bread.php. Any other file that you can think about, you create it like that. That's number one. So we have finished to create our first bread file. Now, number two, we are now going to see how do we then create. Okay, before that, maybe let me take you to the other concept. Now, after this, you can now go to the routes and then you change this. So since we have created this, now in the route file, this is the route. There's a folder called route and then there's a file called web.php. That's where all our routes are going to be stored. So all the routes are always going to be stored there. Yes, all the routes are always going to be stored in the routes folder under a file known as web.php. So by default, this is what you're going to find in that file. So instead of me returning this, I'll simply come and I change this. Yeah, and anyway, maybe let me use the proper way because now this one might be so confusing to you. Now the right way is, the first step for you to create an application, you create a view. Which view we have created is the index. After creating this, the next step you do is to create a controller. Because from our previous tutorial, I've explained that views are being returned by the controller. So without the controller, we do not return views in any other way. So how do we do this now? We need to see how do we then create a controller. For us to be able to create a controller, we simply run commands. As I said in our first tutorials, I explained that we shall be interacting with more of the terminal than anything else. So it's only the views that we create just in the manual way, but the rest of the things, most of them we use the command line. And how do we write that? We simply just write PHP Artisan make, then controller, make controller, then build home controller. Now someone there might be wondering, he's seeing something like this: PHP Artisan make controller home controller. Now if you can look closely, all these first one from PHP up to make controller, all of them should be in lowercase. But now the class name, now this is the real controller, the home controller, the one you're seeing, should be capitalized. How? The first letter should be capital and then C of the controller should be capital. Assuming, let's say you're creating maybe something else. It might be student controller. So S is going to be capital and C is going to be capital. So this is how you create the student controller. So this is the name of the controller that we want to be created. So I'll take you back to the other controller, which is the home controller. So I need to create the home controller because I want to return our first file, which is the index. So after giving the name of the controller, put space and then -r. R stands for resources. So I want that as the controller is being created, let it also add the resources inside that controller. That's what we mean. Then you click on enter. Yeah, the moment you click on enter, it's going to create that controller inside this. So we are going to open our app, then under HTTP we shall see that controller being created here. So let's wait for that controller to be created. Yeah, so the controller is going to be created there. You give it just some few time. It might be instant if you have been interacting with the terminal, but since you have taken time without interacting with it, now that's why you see that it has been too slow. You can even browse from here and then click on the file, or you go and open your app folder. There is a folder called app, the first folder. Then there is a folder called http. Open it. There is another subfolder called controllers. Then that's where you see the home. So this is our home controller. Click on it and you can see now by default you can see almost now this one you have already started this in Java. Now what you're seeing here is what we call inheritance. Inheritance, we do it in Laravel by extending. If you can still recall, inheritance, that's where a child class can inherit everything from the parent. Anyway, I don't want to go into that, but I was just showing you that this development is like step by step. You started Java, now it's helping you to understand Laravel. So now all the things you're seeing inside, it's the reason that's why we put -r to say, can you please include all the resources inside here? That's why you see that we have all these resources around here. So the first resource I'm going to use is this function, the public function. Yeah, I'm going to come inside here and I'll say return view, because I want to return a view. I want my controller to return a view, and which view I want to return is called the index. Then I should always terminate. Now you see this line. This is the only line that you add in this function. So we are done with the controller for now. So I've created the controller. The controller came with the resources, and I'm using the first resource being the public function. Make sure we are doing everything within here, within these curly brackets. So we use a line, return, view, then this index. Yeah. So after this, make sure you save. And now the last step we are going to do, remember we have created our view, we created it, it's around here. We have created our controller, we have connected the view to the controller through this return function, as you have seen. Now the last step we are going to do is now to create that particular route for this. We need to create a route for that. And how do we create a route? You simply come here inside the web, yeah, under routes there is a web.php file, and then you create your route here. But before you create a route, since we have created a new controller, we need to import from your PHP knowledge. You remember you used to create a separate connect.php and then you used to include it. Maybe when you have created another file, you either use include or require. Yeah, so it's similarly to this side. I cannot talk with this without importing it. So how do we import then? You come here and you use the use, then app, then you use a backslash http backslash, then controllers backslash, then the home controller. Now what we are simply doing, we are simply pointing to this path here. We are saying app is this, http is this, controllers is this, and then home controller. Don't say home controller.php. Already Laravel knows that the file is .php, so just call the name just the same way we wrote it here. It was home controller, we didn't say .php because already Laravel knows that it will be a PHP file. That's why now for us to import, we capitalize each first letter. App, as you can see, though the other side all the folders are in lowercase, but here as we are importing we use this app. So why Laravel is principled like that? Don't come with your own things, just follow what the frameworks gives you. So the frameworks allows us to write it like this. So this is how we import. Make sure that the same way I've imported is how you're importing at your end. So after that we are going to remove now this, and then we write our new route. And this is moving forward, this is the route structure we're going to be using. So we say route, then this, we say get, then from get we put comma here, then use this square bracket to say home controller, then double full colon, we call a class, then comma this index, then you come outside, you add a name, and the name is simply an index, then you terminate at the end, then you have finished. So now what you're seeing on this line 7 is how we are going to be writing our controllers. So this is our home controller as you're seeing, and it's going to be returning the index, which index is the function. Now what is returning is this, and this function index has been triggered to return an index file, as you can see. Now I know right now everything might not look so clear to you, but you understand as we proceed. So for now, just understand that this is how we create a controller, and then after everything, make sure at every step you have been saving. So after you finish everything, you're going to come back to your terminal. Let me first clear the terminal. You just write CLS, then clear the terminal, and now I'm going to run a command that will run our Laravel application. So we are going to be able to see how do we then run our first Laravel application. So the command is very simple: php space @sun space run, @sun serve, like this. Serve, not server, serve, to serve, like it ends with E, not R. Then click on enter. Now the moment you click on enter, you will see that it will give you this server running on this. So this is the whatever, the URL we need to copy and we paste. So you just highlight, don't highlight with the angled brackets, just only highlight the URL. You copy it like this, then Control C. Don't overpress the Control C. Control C, you just be a little bit not so hard on it, so that you don't stop the terminal from running. You leave it running like this. Then you come here and then you open a new tab. Then you will now run. The moment you run like this, if everything is successful and nothing is crashing, you will be able then to see your Laravel application running. You will be able to see your Laravel application running. So we are giving it just some few time to see whether we shall be able to run our first Laravel application. So we are giving it just some few seconds. Yeah. If everything is okay, it's going to run. Now you see, mine has crashed, as you see. And what error is it showing? They are telling me that unknown database apex that. So now, where is the issue coming from? I'll go back to this. Whenever you see an error, don't get scared. Errors are part of us. But now, how to troubleshoot is what is so important. Now, going back here, I'll go to the M file, then I'll check. Now the database is called Apex Demo, but I might know that if I go, I'm going to copy it. So if I go to the PHP my admin, when I come here to the admin, you might find that we don't have that database already. So you need to first create it. So how do you create it? Just come here and then you say click new. If at all you have happened to get that error, then come here and then create this database. Now after creating that database, the other last step you're going to do, just come here and you click on this plus button, and then you run this command, because we need to create the other tables in the database. Just simply say php @sun migrate, and then you click on enter. So the command is php @sun migrate, this command. So it will run until it shows you that everything is okay. If everything runs like this, just simply go back and refresh. The moment you refresh, you'll be able to see your page loading like this. Congratulations, you have been able to create your first view, your first controller, your first route, and then you're able to run your first application and even troubleshooting in case of an error. Thank you so much. Let's meet in another episode.